Hi everyone, welcome to the Mental Brew podcast, Conversations on High Performance. Our latest episode, we're talking to James Blanchfield. James, how are you?
I'm good, Dennis, and you?
Good, boy, good.
Good
Thanks for coming on, man. I'd love to say that I sat down and researched like mad through the internet, through LinkedIn, and found you, but we actually met at a stag.
That's right. Yeah, good stag as well.
A good stag.
Looking forward to the wedding.
Yeah. We're actually getting our suits measured in is it 2 weeks or something like that? So we'll have a bit of crack there as well. But we got chatting. The usual shit talk at a stag. We don't know people at the start. Oh, how are you? What do you do? And we found out that we were both changing career and that we were both kind of working in performance, but we may be a different slant in it. And just before we get into the nuts and bolts of that, James, as we're starting off, a fairly hefty question. Why do you do what you do?
Whoa, geez, you got me on. Wow, good question. I think the best answer to that is probably rewind about 10 years, Dennis, and kind of 10 years ago, you did what you did for what was perceived as success, what was perceived as getting the big paycheck, having a nice car, having a good social life, all that kind of stuff, you know. Then babies come along and put a total different perspective on life.
Yeah.
And it kind of changes what you do. So I suppose I have two boys now, and what I do now is kind of orientated around giving them a good life. You know, that's the reason you just mentioned I've changed career. That's probably the big reason I've changed career, because my previous job was becoming very pressurized and I wasn't becoming a good father. You know, I was just taken completely away from it. So there was 18 months of deep soul searching there. And you do what, you know, you go through different stages. 10 years ago was great. You were out every weekend. You were going on good holidays, was driving a nice car, still driving a nice car. But now, you know, points in time change your perspective on things, and incidents change your perspective on things. And I suppose 5.5, 6 years ago, I made a decision that I was going to invest in myself, because I'm probably a person that has always struggled for self-belief. And I was going to invest in myself, my own self-development, and went away with the support of my previous employer and the support of my wife, went away and invested in myself to do an MBA. And that totally changed my perspective again on why I do what I do. And I quickly became very aware that it's not about the big paycheck. It's not about the promotion to be a director of a business, which I achieved by the time I was 37. But it was about, you know, it changed the whole perspective for me when I finished studying, when I finished, went through it. I do what I do now to improve myself every day and to give myself kind of a better quality of life, to give my kids and my family a better quality of life. Because that's ultimately what it all boils down to at the end of the day is you can go to work, or you can go training to sport, and you can go out there and you can have a really bad day. You can have a really bad day. And the world is falling down and the pressure is around, but you come home and you have two little kids and a wife looking at you. They don't give a shit. Kids don't give a shit, you know. And I think the perspective on life is brilliant. So it's changed me as a person completely, and just want to calm down now. And recently built a house.
Congrats.
And, tough going. Only moved into it last Sunday week.
Oh wow.
My club hurling team, Thomastown and Kilkenny, we are trying to win the Intermediate Kilkenny Championship for the last 7 years. We've been in 5 finals in 6 years. We lost 4 of them. We won it last Sunday week. The whole parish was out in the beer, and Muggins here was moving into the new house. So, but you know, we actually bucked the trend. We built a small house, not putting huge money into it, but we built that house because we want to actually put our money into nice things and good experiences, rather than burying money into a house. You know, so just perspective. And I suppose my wife is very down to earth, you know, and she's changed a lot of me as well. So yeah, look, I mean, as I said, it's all about a point in time.
Yeah, do you know what you're saying there now actually resonates a lot with me, because I would have been, oh man, I would have been fairly laid back with things. There was a time there I wouldn't have been worried about building a house or any of that crack. It was just, you'd be surviving paycheck to paycheck. And as you said, it was grand. You're going out the weekends, you're having the crack, you're doing whatever. But I'll be honest with you, when I met my missus, and I've said this in previous episodes, it just provided purpose, because look, she's phenomenal, to be honest with you. Like, as in, just forget her now as a wife and a partner and that, but like even in her career, like ridiculously, like unreal how good she is. But I suppose I kind of saw that and I was like, yeah, I need to up my game where, as you said, we can go and have that experience, go on a holiday and me not have to worry about money. And I suppose being unhappy in the career as well has really motivated me. And that's difficult, isn't it? You're kind of trapped.
It's very, very hard because, like, I think you don't back yourself until you actually meet someone that believes in you. I rewind even 22 years. I was educated in Ireland's top GAA school in Kieran's College at Kilkenny. And for me, the be all and end all was to get on the senior hurling team at Kieran's College. I didn't make the under 14 or the juvenile or the junior team, but that didn't matter to me because I knew I was focused from day one to be on the senior hurling team. And I got on the senior hurling team, and I was played centre back. I'll never forget it. I played centre back in the trials, and I hurled the ears off a fella from a local club here in Kilkenny who was a really good hurler, and because of that, he didn't make the panel. But then they put me on goal because they had a problem with the goalkeeper, and because I was a good hurler in the club and I was playing on goal for clubs, so the school said they put me on goal to kind of shore it up at the back. And like, I mean, I was surrounded by people who went on to be the best hurlers of their generation, like Richie Power, John Tennyson, James Fitzpatrick. Like, it was incredible. There was just good hurlers everywhere.
A few All-Irelands between them.
Yeah, like All-Stars, like Chad Fitzpatrick, probably the hurler of a generation.
Yeah.
But the problem was, I actually wasn't mentally ready for that.
Okay.
And I went into Champions League hurling with Kieran's College, and it was grand, it was easy hurling. But then suddenly I went into Championship, and just things went up 2, 3, 4, 5 gears. And I was here like a dog, like a rabbit in the headlights, not knowing what was going on. Had an absolute howler against Kilkenny CBS. All teams that you didn't want a howler against was Kilkenny CBS.
Yeah.
Taken off at half time, and got dropped for the All-Ireland final. Like that was the first big punch that I got, like, and I learned a lot from that. And then went on to LIT, where I met our mutual friend from Palace Green.
Lofer.
Yeah, I got so lucky again that I got onto the freshers hurling team with another generation of brilliant hurlers. Guys like Shane McGrath from Tipperary, Niall Healy from Galway, Angus Callanan, Cyril Donlan, like incredible guys, went on to incredible county careers. But because of what I learned from my time at Kieran's, I just didn't take it as seriously. We won a Freshers All-Ireland that year. Best time in my life. So this is the point I'm getting. It's different. It's like it's points in life and what you learn along the way, and be that in sport, be that in business, be that in marriage, be that in your own personal career, whatever it might be. You just have to take the learnings and try and apply them as best as you can. And I'm no genius. I'm no guy who has all the answers to everything, but I've tried to improve every day. And I think your point about you and your wife, I mean, if you can meet someone who enables you to improve every day, lap it up. Don't take it for granted, because I think it's an inherent gene that we do actually take it for granted. And until we're talking about it here now, I'm taking it for granted.
Yeah, like, and it's gas. I had recorded a podcast, it was 2 episodes ago. It's coming out next week with Brian McCormack. He's from Tullamore, he's a golfer, and we kind of got into the similar area, like, but he was basically saying that if he goes off to an event or a big work event or a golf event and his wife tells him he is going to be ace it, he says nothing can happen that will ever break that confidence he has, because she has my back. So it's great to see. I suppose the old saying is, behind the successful man is their female counterpart.
That's it, yeah.
And I suppose I remember saying, I think I said this to you the night we met. We were walking around Kilkenny, and it brought me back to Braveheart, where Mel Gibson is talking to the Irish fella, and he goes, "Look, will the Irish help us?" The Irish fella was stone mad. Goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It's my island, right?" So, and then I kind of thought you when we were Kilkenny. Everywhere we went, everyone knew you, and in my head I could just say, "Yeah, this is my county," right?
Yeah.
I suppose that kind of social aspects, or the social skills that you have, that I would have seen in that weekend, like, is that something that you would have developed naturally yourself, or was it something that came through, obviously, the sport, but like, has it come through business? Has it come through lessons of business? Or if you're kind of getting what I'm saying?
Very lucky, right? I'm the youngest of 5 kids, ranging in the ages. My eldest sibling Yvonne Yvonne's in mid-50s, and I'm 40, you know, so there's probably to go to 16, 17 years from eldest to youngest. So there was always a great spread of kind of friends coming and going from the house. But my dad was also a businessman in Kilkenny, and looking reasonably successful, becoming a mechanical contractor, and again ran into hard times in the early 90s, which was another big learning, not only for me as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, but also for our family, you know, and it put a big strain on our family. And you know, you would still carry the baggage of that today. But my father, who just was an incredible man, kind of taught us all about that. And you know, he suffered an awful lot health-wise and mentally-wise because of it, but he got back up on the horse again and went again, and kind of handed a legacy over to my brothers, you know, to run their business. And now my brothers run that business. But then through my father being a GAA man, and my mother being a rugby person from Kildare, my dad being a GAA man for Kilkenny, there was an inherent, or not, kind of an automatic direction to sport, you know, rugby and hurling. And hurling was the first, and still is the first love, despite rugby being my primary sport.
Yeah.
But I think through seeing my brothers and sisters in action, kind of, you could take the good parts and the bad parts from what they did, kind of apply them. And I've just been surrounded by people my whole life, and I love socializing. My wife tells me, like, you can never sit still. Like, when we go out, you're working a room. You sort of you're working a room to see, like, who do I know here? And my wife would be kind of going, Kate, would be kind of going like, geez, everyone is more important than me. But I go home then to my home house, and my wife would be saying that to my mother. My mother would kind of going, black cat, black kitten, like, you know, same as his father, you know, and that's just the way we are, you know, and it's just a family trait. But, you know, it's actually been great, because being in Kieran's College, which was a boarding school, I got to know people from all around the country as well. And then going to college down in Limerick, that even broadened my horizons further to get to know a lot of people. So in business, it's an absolute incredible icebreaker when I can walk into a room, and like, I've worked with some of the biggest companies in the world, kind of the Googles, the Microsofts, the Facebooks, these companies, in a construction sense through my previous business. When you walk into a room and you hear the Irish accent, and you say, Jesus, that's a Tipperary accent if ever I heard a North Tip accent. You know, you're a Ross Gray man, are you? And you go, I'm a Ross Gray man. Jesus, do you know such and such? I do, yeah, how do you know him? I was in college with him. And you bring that social aspect into your business life, and suddenly the barriers that might have been there are already broken down, because you're drawing that personal link over to a person already, you know. Now, you have to work on the assumption that they like each other as well. Or the other one is, geez, I played rugby in Roscrea dozens of times. Geez, I came out with some awful patterns and a black eye and a big fat ear on me. And then you kind of break down ice. So I think the correlation between kind of sporting, what you do in the sporting, and I suppose diaspora is the wrong word, but network that you build up in sport and social and family and business. The way I operate in business is that I try and interlink everything to try and get the outcome that I want. You know, my previous boss, we were together for many years. but he would have always said to me, that is one of the biggest strengths that I have in business, is that I'm able to draw lines of parallel. But, you know, socially, probably, there's probably an element as well in there of, you saw me in Kilkenny that time we were up, of buzzing around. The fact of the matter is, there's probably an element of self-doubt there as well. So you're trying to go as well, just to give yourself the buzz and seeing who you know as well. So, you know, it's just, look at, but back to answer the question, going a long way around the answer, I put it all down to my dad, you know, because he taught us all how the harsh lessons in life can affect you, but also how to fucking raise above the parapet and just come out with your chest back and kind of go again, you know. So he was an incredible man.
Unreal. And I suppose I have a question for you now with your father, half and yourself. So you've two boys. My background, I would have said it above in Kilkenny, or, you know, teaching, whatever else. And I actually remember getting into this field of, you know, working with businesses, going into, you know, working with CEOs, going in working with high performing teams. And I can remember I nearly described myself as a teacher, you know, within my description. And I'll be honest, I was nearly embarrassed. I was like, kind of like, oh, I was a teacher before. And I kind of realized that was probably my biggest strength, because it's in that setting where you're bringing out, you know, your personality comes out in the classroom, your social, whatever else, right? I would say, from my own experience of actually sitting there at the top of the room, that it's probably a broken system, in that the Leaving Cert is nearly it's nearly an exam, and it's obviously an exam for college, but it's nearly trying to exclude people from going to college, so that the college can say, oh yeah, we can bring in our foreign students in charge of X, Y, and Z. You didn't meet our standard, right? So that's fine. But I've kind of, I suppose, since I started this business, I definitely was like, a lot of the stuff in school does not transfer over to business. So like,
just touch in on that. On the Leaving Cert, I failed my Leaving Cert.
Did you?
I failed maths and Irish in my first Leaving Cert. I didn't just fail it, I failed it in style.
But if you're going to go down in flames, that's probably the best.
Oh, exactly, like, in style. I remember, and sorry, I remember getting the Irish and maths papers and going into the school to get to see, will we send it for remark? And the maths teacher looked at me and went, nah.
Oh,
nah. You know, and that was that. So the big decision had to be made: do you repeat, or Daddy, can I go serve time as a plumber? And he goes, no, you're not going serve time as a plumber. But anyway, sorry to talk over you.
No, you're grand. Come here, this is what it's all about. But it's, I suppose, I was kind of thinking, and I suppose my question is, again, long-winded way to get to it, what do you think are the key skills that you want your two lads to have going forward in life, whether that be school or business or whatever? And I suppose my thoughts on it are, with our little sprog who's on the way, a little thing like, you know, needs to be able to change a tire, right? So that's only something really small, but like, needs to be able to do that. I'd nearly be saying I'd be pushing him to try and sell something to people at some stage when he's young, getting him selling things, and that skill, because I can remember where I was sitting in under our stairs. We have a little desk and computer and stuff. That would be my little office desk. But I can remember sitting there doing cold calls, and I remember I put the number in and I cancelled the call. I'll do it tomorrow. I put off calls for nearly 2 to 3 weeks because I was terrified. I had no experience. It was completely alien to me. And I'm just kind of thinking now, from that experience, like, he might end up being a teacher, which is grand. But if he can put himself out of his comfort zone in things, by selling this item or whatever it may be, I think it would serve him kind of going forward. What were your thoughts on that with your own two kids in mind?
Yeah, I mean, something I thought a lot about, because during my MBA, going into my MBA, because of my Leaving Cert and going into my MBA, I had an unbelievable fear of failure. An unbelievable fear of failure. And if I tried something and I didn't succeed at it, I'd get myself down in the dumps.
Yeah.
And very quickly, I met two incredible people, Dr. Felicity Kelleher in SETU Waterford, and another guy called Darren Taylor. Felicity is a is a professor in leadership and organizational behavior, and Darren Taylor is what I would call Ireland's greatest pugilist, and he won't mind me saying it, but most sanctimonious lean and operational excellence enabler. Very quickly I realized there's nothing wrong with failure, because you learn very little in success. So first thing I would like my kids to be is not be afraid of failure, not be afraid of trying something and going again and going again and going again. And funnily, I take myself back to being a 5 and 6 year old me, and my mother, who would be a total different animal to my dad. My mother would be very much more straight down the line, very much more, direct talking, doesn't like bullshit. Father likes a bit of bullshit. I like a bit of bullshit. But my mother's opinion is at first you fail, try again, try again. And she's 78 now, and she still would say it, nothing will better me. So from my mother, I would say, first you fail, go again. I want to see my kids having that attitude. Next thing that I'd like to see them have is work ethic, because it's something that I struggle with, is work ethic, and I know their mother will give them work ethic. Freedom is important for them as well. Give them freedom to be what they want. I'd be saying no long hair, or you have to shave yourself the whole time. My wife being one, if they want long hair, let them have long hair. We'll all figure ourselves out. I didn't figure myself out until I was 35. And so that's what I'd like the kids to have is an ability to fail, but an ability to learn from their failure, an ability to be themselves, and a work ethic. And I believe then you're dead right to sell, because that is probably, they say, what is it to say, the two oldest industries in the world is prostitution and publicans, isn't it? Selling beer. They're actually wrong. The oldest industry in the world is sales. Because before prostitute or a barman is no good if they can't sell themselves. So sales is number one,
Yeah. You're after bringing me back there to the fear of failure thing. I'm taking my notes here for when we're going through the description to write into the app and stuff when we're done. But I can remember starting off, and it was really an incredible insecurity that I'd kind of go onto LinkedIn or Instagram, and I'd see someone in a similar field and see what they're doing, and I'm like, geez, I'm not doing that at all. And I'll never forget the feeling I was getting in my stomach. It was like now I'd see it, and someone just basically, like, imagine a bat full of water. So I see that horrible feeling in my stomach, feel like I should be doing this, and it's like someone just let all the water out of the bat, that kind of sinking feeling, just getting empty, and you're kind of going, I remember there was an inner dialogue at one stage going, Ash, look, there's no point, forget about it, we'll just leave it off. You didn't really get going, no one really knows anyway. And I'll be honest, I struggled for that for a long time, and I suppose that's one of the reasons I actually did the podcast, is just to get it out there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I was on it with this podcast for. Go on.
We've all become so accustomed to sitting back in a chair. And
yeah,
I'm no different. Like, don't, just because I'm a guest on your podcast this week, anyone that's listening, don't think I'm this all singing, all dancing fucking guru that practices what I preach. I probably practice 5% of what I preach.
Yeah.
That's a fact. It's very easy. Words are cheap, like, but it's comfort zone, and taking yourself out of the comfort zone is like my sister Linda, massively successful, but got lucky because she took herself out of her comfort zone.
Yeah.
She saw an opportunity. She was working in marketing in the hotel industry, and she saw an opportunity with someone who's turned out to be one of Ireland's biggest blogger, or one of the influencers, a girl called Lisa McGowan, known as Lisa's Lust List on Instagram and Twitter. And the two of them were just like two magnets coming at each other. And Linda saw an opportunity in Lisa. Lisa saw an opportunity in Linda. Lisa was the front of the business. Linda ended up being the I won't say the brains of the business, but the driving force behind the business, or the business person. and they made a brand out of each other. They made a brand out of
Yeah.
it. Suddenly, they're just having this phenomenal success. But because both of them took themselves out of their comfort zone to do something and try something. And like, I mean, the success that they're having is incredible, absolutely incredible, you know. And too many people, myself included, you know, just so happy. That took like we mentioned a couple of times about changing career. It took me 18 months of soul searching to build up the courage to break the cycle of 16 and a half, 17 years. Get out of that comfort zone and try something new.
Yeah.
Now, I'm working now with a new company, with a legend in the construction industry. And the opportunity that rose with him was something I couldn't say no to. And I just had to take it because it's an opportunity to learn off a guy called Russ Carney, who owns a company called CPAM in Clonmel. And he's given me an opportunity to actually go out there and try something, you know, and he's taking a punt on me and I'm taking a punt on him. But if it doesn't work out for me, well, I can't say, fuck it, you know what, at least I tried. You know?
Yeah. And I suppose that was a nice kind of segue into it. I suppose one of the reasons why I got you in the podcast, I suppose now I want to talk performance. So we both of our interests is in performance. We're coming at it from different areas. I suppose firstly for you, I suppose what is performance? What is high performance for yourself and your experience and what you've done so far?
Yeah, I think for me, high performance is about. It's not always about the outcome. For me, it's nearly. I remember hearing as an Anagiri, Cork Camogie player once. I think Kenny beat them in a match. Was it Ashling Thompson? I can't remember which of them, but said you learn nothing. You learn nothing in winning, and you learn a lot more in failure. So, or in loss. And I think high performance for me is about that continuous ability to continuously improve and continuously grow. And it goes back to the Brian Cody mantra: is just as you think. There's a brilliant, I don't know if you've ever seen or saw it, but there's a brilliant interview with Brian Cody. I think he might be speaking at something like the Wave Summit or something like this. But he's speaking about just as you think you were there, someone else catches up and you have to go again. You know, and that's what high performance is about in my mind. It is about the cycle of continuous improvement. And making sure that when something goes wrong, that you fix it. But not only that you fix it, that you know why it went wrong. And the guy I've referred to a few minutes ago, Darren Taylor, once said to me that if Einstein has a problem, he spends 95% of his time thinking about the problem and 5% thinking about the solution. Because you can't understand the solution to a problem to improve if you actually don't understand what went wrong and why it went wrong.
Absolutely,
you know? And it might be a very negative way of looking at it. And you hear the cliche, I don't want problems, I want solutions. Hand me the baby, I don't want the labor pains, all this kind of crap. You know, but to intrinsically understand your problem, it is or to fix your problem, it's essential to understand your problem.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what high performance is to me. It is about the ability to continuously improve, have the courage to actually say, right, what we're doing isn't working, we move. And I think that mantra is transferable into sport, into military, and into business, you know. And it goes back to, I suppose, the you heard me mention about lean principles, you know.
Yes.
And I suppose this is an area that caught my attention. Working in MSD in Clonmel on a construction site, a very Americanized business, an Americanized site, and they were talking about lean. We got to be lean. We got to be better. And you know, I was kind of going, what does lean mean? Like, I mean, is it, you know, what is it? Is it an acronym for something? What is it? And there was a talk of lean, and we had, you know, came and went. But then when I went to WIT a few years ago, came across this guy, Darren Taylor, and the minute he opened his mouth talking about lean, I went, this is what I want to do. And speaking with Darren over the years, he he introduced me to a video that's on YouTube, and I recommend anyone to watch it. It's Ronan O'Gara and Razor Ruddock from the Crusaders talking, I think it's the rugby pod in New Zealand, talking about performance in the Crusaders. If I remember correctly, nowhere they spoke about sport. They spoke rugby very little. Is what they spent most of their time talking about is the culture.
Yeah.
And the culture they had within the Crusaders of continuously looking and to improve and better themselves every week. And that's what it was all about. So, I mean, lean to me has become something that I talk so much about. But the first principle of lean is respect for people. It's the very first principle. And it took me an awful long time, Dennis, to actually understand what respect for people is. It's not the manager or the leader or the line manager walking into an office in the morning and giving everyone high fives and pats on the back and telling them they're great lads and bringing them out for lunch and bringing pizzas in on Friday and, fucking having walking meetings and doing all these in vogue and trendy things that we hear about. Lean or respect for people in terms of performance is about empowerment. And what is empowerment? Empowerment is fulfilling everybody or informing everybody of where they fit in a plan, but not only where they fit in and what the plan is and why we're doing something. And we hear Simon Sinek the whole time, what is our why?
Yeah.
What is our why? There's no point in you or me or anyone doing anything if we don't know why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's the age-old mantra of in fairness, in my game, in the construction game, management and leadership has changed. Days of banging the table, I won't say are gone, but they're certainly being phased out. You will have the occasional Neanderthal who thinks it's still okay, but empowerment is so important. And I think Brian Cody had it brilliantly. John Kiley seems to have it brilliantly nailed as well in Limerick. Like Andy Farrell seems to have it nailed. Everybody knows their role.
Yeah.
Everyone knows their role, and that's to me is the first key to it. And again, go back to what Darren Taylor used to say to me, slow down to speed up. Let's not be running away at a million miles an hour. Sometimes we have to say enough is enough here. Let's stop. Let's actually stop and look at what we're doing. Let's put a proper plan and strategy. We hear business leaders or sports managers saying, we're going to win the All-Ireland or we're going to fucking hit 100 million this year. Fair play to you, buddy. Well done. But words are cheap. How are you going to do it? We need to understand. And I'm not saying that we have a strategy and a plan that we rigidly stick to, but if you do that, you might get success either. But it's a framework to allow you to get a start and understand what's needed. Like to me, strategy is only a dream until it's put on paper and you start. And then when you start, you can be dynamic along the way and make your changes, make your deviations to it. Try something. If it doesn't work, try something else. But get there. And I think we all saw the film. What was it? The one about the Red Sox, where they were signing players and stats.
Moneyball,
yeah. I was going to say Monster Ball, but that was Halle Berry, wasn't it? Yeah. But it's a totally different movie. But like for me, that was incredible. They made their decisions based on data. It was data-based decision making. And it was brilliant. And I think we need to do more of that rather than working on assumption. And then tie all of this back into our strategy and tie all this into learning and training and development of our people. And I think for me, and I know you and I had a good discussion about it, I actually think that philosophy is transferable into sport and into the business spheres.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I'm a United supporter. It's hard to look at United at the moment. Heartbreaking fact, right?
Yeah.
But I actually think this is a huge opportunity for United. If Radcliffe comes in and changes the culture, changes the dynamic in the club, might help United because structure. Even though you say, well, players are players, and the business side is the business side. If the structure in an organisation is wrong, it's wrong. It's going to affect everyone and everywhere and everything. So, and all this stuff, does it cost money? Like Paul O'Connell had a great saying many years ago, be good at all the things that don't, what is it, that don't take training, that don't cost money, arriving on time, having your gear prepped, having yourself prepped, you know, all those little things, and everything else will fall into place. But they can only fall into place if the leaders and the managers put them in place, you know. But this is the next step. It has to be top down, it has to be bottom up. That managers just can't make a decision. They need to actually understand what's happening at the bottom, and can what they're trying to do be implemented and made stick, you know. So that's why you bring it into change management, you know. It's kind of, change management is a very, very difficult field, as we all know. But the first step to change management is kind of empowerment again, and getting people's involvement. So I mean, empowerment and respect are number one for me.
That's a brilliant insight. Because I'm preparing, you know, as I said, I have a fairly big talk coming up there in January with a huge firm in Cork, and I suppose they're looking for me to work on emotional intelligence, and it kind of comes back again to the empowerment. So I can remember training or doing my training for executive coaching and leadership, and straight away when I was watching it when I was doing the course, it was just sport was in my head and it was all coming back to me. But they mentioned emotional intelligence, that was a section that we were doing it. I just that's a lot of bollocks, basically is what I said. And I've been honest, it's only when you look back and reflect, you're kind of going, Dennis, you were a bit of a fucking ape there now, to be honest. It's key to my practice going forward now. It involves everything. It's between working with a one-to-one with an athlete, working with sports teams, working with businesses. As I said, this talk now in January, that's on emotional intelligence. And I suppose tying in your emotional intelligence to maybe your kind of emotional control. I was chatting to a manager of a big business recently, and he's a friend of mine. And I remember he asked me, he's like, Jesus, there'd be days there I'm just stressed off my head. And I remember just saying to him, would you ever take something like micro breaks? And he's like, you know, what's that? Or what would that involve? Sorry, I've turned this in silent. And it was just trying to get him to decompress, I suppose, take a step back and kind of go, okay, I have it, but I just need to just control the thoughts, the negative thoughts, whatever it may be. And just with, I suppose, construction, right? And again, I suppose my questions here now, I suppose, are general enough in terms of my perception of it. So you have the skills now, right, to go in, say, working with your construction company to, I suppose, to implement change. So working with individuals, you know, the cultural aspect of it. But how far down does that go? So like if you're working with a big company and they have apprentice carpenters or plumbers, how far down can you go to them? Because these could be the fellas now that left school early, no interest in this kind of stuff. I've worked at a building site. I was an apprentice carpenter for a while, and it's a dog-eat-dog environment. Like, whereas they're not interested in culture. They're, in some instances, and not all, now to be fair, in some instances they might be kind of going, seeing that apprentice there, okay, we'll tell this fella to go get me stripy paint or collect the sparks. I know it's a bit of crack and everything else, but it's still, I suppose, if you're looking at it from my point of view, there's feelings there where someone might feel taken advantage of, could affect performance, could affect his view of the company, all this kind of stuff. So I suppose what's your current role at the moment, or how hands-on can you be in terms of the cultural piece?
Yeah, I think you're actually dead right in what you're saying, because again, we'll go back to when my father was in business. Like, I mean, I heard stories about what was done to apprentices, and like, I mean, if it happened in today's world, lads would be brought to court and charged for some of the stuff that was done. Like, I mean, scandalous stuff. I won't get into it now, but it was acceptable at the time. But fast forward now, like, I mean, I'm lucky enough that the level of construction I'm in, it's hyperscale, it's mega, it's big construction projects, right? But you still have that demographic coming in, you know. And yeah, you mentioned guys who might have left school early and blah, 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 for whatever reason. But you actually look at the big construction sites now, there is a concerted focus within the construction sector about mental well-being, mental health, emotional intelligence, all those things that weren't in the sector 10, 15 to 20 years ago. If we go back 25, 30 years ago, Health and safety. Look at, you want to site in a pair of runners, and if you would have said 30 years ago there's going to be a cultural flip for health and safety, where it is now the first and foremost point of every day at the workplace.
Yeah.
I believe the next step in that now, that has stuck for the last 15, 20 years. Health and safety is front and center of everything. If it's unsafe, you don't do it. I actually believe now, for the last 5, 6 years in the construction, that there is a concerted focus to actually improve the mental health and mental and emotional intelligence that's in the sector.
Yeah,
I work with some of the biggest dogs out there. I mean, serious dudes. And in the construction game, you don't get to the top unless you're a serious dude. Unless you have a streak in you. And I mean a tough streak. But I've watched those guys 5, 6, 7 years ago. One particular guy who works for one of probably the biggest Irish construction company now, called Winthrop Engineering. I won't name him. But when I met him first, he was a dog, an absolute dog. Now, I haven't spoken to him in a year, maybe a year and a half, but the last time I spoke to him was a total different mindset shift.
Yeah.
He's worrying about the people, worrying about the health and safety, worrying about what's happening out on the ground. And again, empowering people with the skills that are needed, educating people with the skills that are needed. And I actually walked away from that and I said, Jesus Christ, if that guy can change.
Yeah.
And he is he was project director on sites where there was 200, 300, 400 people. And he is actually working to educate and empower those 300 or 400 people with this, I think point again to is the construction sector is changing, because it has to change, because it can't stay going as it was. And it certainly is, the economy in Ireland is driven by it. And if people are to get, and there's a major shortage of labour in it, if people are to get back into it and to encourage people to get into it, it needs to be made attractive. Because if it's the way it was years ago, no young guy or no young girl is going to want to get into it.
Yeah.
So and you're right, it is a horrible dog-eat-dog sector,
Yeah, it's, do you know what? I think, I can't remember how long I lasted. 18 months, I think I lasted. But you know what got to me? It was, I was green. I was as innocent. But it was little things like the same lunch every day, the same packed lunch every day. That just wore me down. And I was on site maybe a week, and I knew everything. Brand new high-vis vest out of the packet, you'd see me a mile away. The new hat, sparkling white, and this plumber, nice fella, he was a young fella as well. He goes, "You're apprentice?" I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life." And I just went, "Ooh, right, okay." And do you know what didn't help me out, to be honest with you? It was probably, look, you're an apprentice, you get dogged a bit in terms of carry this, carry that, but I wasn't showing a lot. And I remember going to FOSS, and even in my FOSS class, that was dog eat dog. It was just a different vibe altogether. And I can remember at the time I was going out with a girl at the time, and she'd gone back repeating her leaving cert, so I decided, fuck it, I'm going to do the same. I'm packing this gig in. And I could have stuck with it, but it's just, if you talk to Jorno or Mark or Sean, they'll tell you, as what Mark would say, I never thought you'd be a carpenter, and you know what I mean? Like, he's like, you're not able for that at all.
There's no fear of any of the Pharisees becoming carpenters anyway. But,
speaking of the Pharisees, sorry, I forgot to cross you. Speaking of the Pharisees, have you the best man speech written? Because you organised the stag.
No. I don't think I spent enough time in Dundee or over in Oslo to write that for him, But I mean, just and any young guys listening, I would encourage them to get involved in the construction game.
Well, I suppose. There's definitely huge opportunity there, as in, even in terms of work, a business. Going back again to the previous podcast I mentioned with Brian McCormack, like, I'm at a stage now where my business is, I'm creating a job for myself. So if I'm not there, there's no money coming in. I want to get to the stage where I create a business that will work for me, whether I'm there or not. And I suppose there's huge opportunity for young apprentices to get to that level with hard work and knowing the right people and what to do and whatnot. Because there's a huge shortage there. Is there an element though of the danger of once fellas qualified, they're gone to Australia for the bigger, better lifestyle?
There is, but I mean, that's there with everything. Look at nursing, look at doctors.
True.
Yeah. I don't think. I think if a young person wants to travel, they're going to travel.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I would be saying is to any young person now that wants to travel, don't worry about Australia, because Saudi is the place to be. Like, what's coming down the track in Saudi is absolutely out of this world. Like,
Really?
Out totally and utterly out of this world. If I didn't have dependents and was footloose and fancy free, I'd be getting on a plane and I'd be going to Saudi in the next 8 months, because Saudi is just going to become the biggest construction site in the world.
Really?
There's no doubt about that. But look, it's a fear. I mean, the hard part is about people emigrating is it's a blight on every sports club in the country at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's been 3.5 years through COVID, or I didn't get to go traveling. They're all going now, so it's part and parcel of it. So, but the sector is struggling. But I mean, we can just do our best, and I think there's ways of optimizing what we're doing, and and again, the other side of it is going into an apprenticeship isn't once what it was. I mean, the whole entry into and training around apprenticeships has changed as well. But it's going to become, and it's like very, very. My best friend, this guy called Ray Pembroke, very high achieving family, but their youngest brother Paul. Paul bucked the trend, and Paul went to be an apprentice electrician. And, I mean, he went off with a company in Kilkenny, got his qualifications, and then went to college. Now Paul is the head of maintenance, and I think he's the head of engineering in Sanofi in Waterford.
Wow.
An incredible, like a big job, but I always look at Paul Pembroke as being a role model for people. Now, anyone who knows Paul, he knows how to enjoy himself as well. But he is a role model in that sense for me, because he bucked the trend in his family. His mum and dad had very successful chartered accountants in Kilkenny. His brother Ray, who's my best mate, went on to be a chartered accountant as well. His other brother Alan is a radiologist with UPMC, and then Kathy is their sister is head of postgrad in SETU Waterford.
Wow.
Well, Paul went a different route, and now he has an incredible job earning good money in a multinational company with phenomenal opportunity. So, irrespective of getting in as an apprentice, if ambition is probably the best trait someone can have in life, is a bit of ambition. And the hard part that I see is there's so many people out there, Dennis, who don't get a chance.
Can I add to that? If I said ambition and neck, that person who just says fuck it, I'm gonna make this call or send this text and chance my arm. I think that's huge.
Performance, I mean, there's so many success stories out there of people who had nuts, and just, was it ambition? Was it nuts? Was it just I think the JP McManus, what he has done, other people, they've, the most successful businessman in Kilkenny is a guy called Ian Langton, who got chucked out of Kieran's College when he was 15. There's just so many strong success stories out there. you're right. They took an opportunity, you know.
And do you know what? We're coming up to the last question because I'm conscious of your time. 2 kids to be looking after, and
it's all right. Stay going. Stay going.
The wife's outside going, "Oh my God, when you finish up?" What are your own goals that go forward over maybe the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
What are you looking for yourself?
I'm very jealous of what you're doing.
Right.
I really think what you're doing is where I want to go. My long-term ambition is I want to be, in 10 years' time, I don't want to be in the construction game. I want to be kind of doing some level of consultancy, going in, working with organized companies and organizations, SMEs, and go in and help them to strategize, to grow, to get their culture, to understand what performance is, help small businesses grow is essentially what I want to do in the long term. But do it slightly different. Instead of me going to them, I go to them, I workshop with them, I get the information, I go away, I put a program together, but then they come to me for a weekend or for 2 or 3 block releases in the year.
Yes.
We work it together. And that's where I want to be in 10 years' time. Fingers crossed we get there. But you know what? Where myself and my wife want to be in 10 years' time. We have a plan. It's very much focused around agriculture as well.
Right.
My wife has a degree in ag science from UCD, was born on a dairy farm, lived on a dairy farm. We're back living on the farm now, so there's a hope there that we can do some kind of social farming.
Wow.
Yeah, so regenerative farming, that's what kind of blows Kate's hair back, is kind of social farming, bringing kind of additional needs people in and giving them an outlet, you know, helping them to kind of have something to do, you know, make people feel useless, be it blocking a gap for a cow or being it fencing a field for regenerative
providing purpose.
Yeah, that's what she wants to do, you know. That's what Kate is. Kate is a facilitator and empower of young people. She works for Freuga, and you know, it's incredible listening to what she does, you know, and how she helps young people evolve and grow and gives opportunity. So
that's unbelievable.
That's where we want to be, you know. Now, obviously, there's 2 kids to rear and educate, so it can't be all come by and you know, rearing organic pigs and social farming. A few quid has to be coming in as well, but. Consultancy is where I want to go, and like yourself, Dennis, high performance consultancy, strategy writing, and then the PhD is very much on the bucket list as well. So
fair play, man. Fair play.
I'd be hoping to kick that off as well, maybe next 4 or 5 years as well. Try and get into that in some element of performance, operational excellence, lean.
Unreal. That's fantastic, James. That's unreal.
Yeah, and then obviously, like Rodders and Del Boy, this time next year to be a millionaire.
Absolutely. And come here, what a way to finish the podcast. I think that's the best way. Quote from Only Fools and Horses, absolute top quality. James, thanks a million for coming on, man. I think loads of people are going to get something from that. I definitely want to try and get you on again at some stage, and we might delve into maybe one specific performance problem and go head into it with from your side and my side and maybe some unique perspective in that. But Mayor, thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, Dennis. Good talking to you, and we'll see you in 6-8 weeks time. Is it
6 or 8 weeks time? Yeah, I'll be wearing a black suit and a dicky boy, I'd say. So yeah, you'll see me up there somewhere. Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.